Hello, my awesome project managers, CAPMs in the making, wherever you are. Welcome to this very rapid review of what is new in the world of CAPM. You're probably watching this video because you might be thinking of taking the CAPM exam. If you're thinking of taking the CAPM exam, be aware that the PMI have released the most current CAPM exam content outline. Now, you do know the current outline, early 2022, is based pretty much on the knowledge areas and the PMBOK Guide 6th edition. But let's see what those folks at the PMI have been up to in their little laboratory. It seems like they've been up to some mischief, as we're about to find out. Let's see what they've been up to. All right, so here we go. This is the CAPM exam content outline that exists for October of 2022. To give you a little bit more context and background, you should probably read PMI's website for the CAPM exam, where more of these details are. Let's peek into their website, pmi.org, and let's find out how this dialogue actually began. So pmi.org. When you get to pmi.org, hit certifications and look for CAPM. All right, so this is the CAPM page, or the page you can get the CAPM information. Let's click on Discover the CAPM Certification Advantage. And it reads, the CAPM is now online, but if you look at the bottom, it says, use PMBOK Guide 6th edition for CAPM prep. But it says, while the PMBOK Guide 7th edition is now available, the CAPM exam is based on the PMBOK Guide 6th edition. Please continue using the PMBOK Guide 6th edition as your test preparation tool. Then at the bottom, more information can be found in the CAPM handbook. To learn more about upcoming changes to the CAPM exam, refer to the new exam content outline now available. See that? And then it goes into some other information for you to be aware of. But let's hit this content outline link right there. I'm going to put this content outline link in the chat for those of you on YouTube this very moment that have not seen it. Carla is looking to study for the CAPM. So Carla, when are you looking at taking it? Are you looking at doing it before October? If you're thinking of doing it before October, then that's good. If you're thinking of doing it after October, then this applies to you. So there we have it, Certified Associate in Project Management, CAPM, and then it says October 2022 exam update. So I can only believe that they're doing this early October, probably as soon as October starts, they're off to the races with it. That's how PMI typically rolls. All right, let's scroll down and take a look at what is in here. So we have some new domains. I don't want to go into the current one because you already know how that is broken down by PMBOK Guide 6th edition chapter. This new one is broken down by domain. So here we have domain 1, project management fundamentals and core concepts. Domain 2, predictive plan-based methodologies. Domain 3, adaptive frameworks and methodologies, and domain 4, business analysis frameworks. And that's it at a super high level. Now, what I want to do with you to make it worth your while is go over the details in each of these very rapidly. If this doesn't really pertain to you, then there's really not much to worry about. Just continue doing what you're doing. All right. So Carla's going to shoot before October. Good. That's what I would advise. Shoot to do it before October, because once the changes start coming, more people rush. So for those of you that haven't been in the middle of an exam change, whether it's PMP, whether it's CAPM or anything else, the moment the announcement comes, everyone begins rushing to take the exam before the change. And as a result, the test centers are full, they're jammed, crazy activity. Now you can take the CAPM at home, but just be aware of that when the exam is changing, things become pretty chaotic and crazy. All right, so let's jump straight into the details in these changes. Let's start off with domain 1. Domain 1 is all about project management fundamentals. And if you've already been studying project management fundamentals in the 6th edition, then this isn't new to you, right? When we talk about the fundamentals, task 1, demonstrate an understanding of the various project life cycles and processes. This could be a little bit unnerving for people who understand deep project management language, because when we talk about project life cycles, we're talking about specific technical work being done. And then they mention processes. So it kind of leaves you between here and there as far as PMI, what do you want us to understand? Are you talking about 6th edition processes? Because the 7th edition doesn't have any processes in it, just talks about domains and principles. So if I was going to train someone to be a CAPM on this new syllabus, I would call their attention to the minutia, which is why I always say, don't look at the PMBOK guide, look at the content outline. All right. So very similar to you, this is my first look into this. I haven't really looked in depth. It's a first look. So distinguish between a project, program, and a portfolio, distinguish between projects and operations, distinguish between predictive and adaptive approaches, distinguish between issues, risks, assumptions, and constraints, review or critique project scope, apply the project management code of ethics, the PMI code of ethics, code of conduct is really what they're talking about. Explain how a project can be a vehicle for change. So if you don't read the minutia on this page, you're going to be worried because you hear the word process. You think they're talking about 49 processes all over again. No, they're not. So again, it's another of those poorly written content outlines that could mislead the reader. So don't freak out. It's pretty much just vanilla flavored stuff they're talking about. Task 2, demonstrate an understanding of project management planning. So we have describe the purpose and importance of cost, quality, risk, schedule, and all that. Distinguish between deliverables of a project management plan versus product management plan. Distinguish differences between a milestone and task duration. Determine the number and type of resources in a project. Use a risk register, use a stakeholder register, and explain project closure and transitions. So if you've been reading the 6th edition, you're golden. All right, I'm going to go through these very quickly now. Demonstrate an understanding of project roles and responsibilities. So roles of project managers, roles and responsibilities of the team, the importance of the role of the project manager. This is very well covered in the 6th, by the way. Explain the differences between leadership and management. Again, very well covered in the 6th edition, chapter 3. And explain emotional intelligence, EI, EQ, whatever you want to call it. What is it? It's bridling your emotions and being able to influence the emotions of others and understand the importance of that. Very well covered in the 6th edition, by the way, not so much in the 7th. Task 4, determine how to follow and execute planned strategies or frameworks, communications, risks, and so on. Give examples of how it is appropriate to respond to a planned strategy or framework. In other words, the value of planning. Explain what it means to initiate a project and benefits planning. Again, very well covered in the 6th, not so much in the 7th. Task 5, demonstrate an understanding of common problem-solving tools and techniques. So you got to know your tools and techniques for problem solving. Again, very well covered in chapter 8 under the managed quality process, and also very well covered elsewhere. So evaluate the effectiveness of a meeting, explain the purpose of focus groups, stand-up meetings, brainstorming, and so on. You can find some of those in the 7th edition. All right, we've got 4 domains to cover, my friends. We are done with the first one. If you have any questions or concerns about your CAPM exam, let me know. I took a couple of CAPM exams because back in the day, you needed to take the CAPM to get it renewed. So I took it in 2011. I took it again in 2016. So my understanding of the exam is quite acute because I've had to not only learn it for myself, but also train people on it. All right, task 5 here, that's it. And now we're moving into domain 2. So this is project management fundamentals and core concepts. Did I get that right? Or is that a dupe? That is a dupe. Let's get the correct domain name from PMI's guide itself. I think this is called predictive plan-based methodologies. That's what it's called. All right, so let me make a quick tweak on the fly. And engineer that in. And it's actually 17%. All right, so let's go back to the slide and go to task 1. Explain when it is appropriate to use a predictive plan-based approach. Identify suitability of predictive plan-based approach for the organizational structure. And it goes into these organizational structures, which, by the way, are not very well covered in the 7th edition. Task 2, demonstrate an understanding of a project management plan schedule. I'm going to move quicker now. Task 3, determine how to document project controls of predictive and plan-based projects. And that's pretty much it. Let's go into the 3rd domain. This is adaptive frameworks / methodologies. 20%. So this is going more into agile. So for those folks who didn't catch it in the very beginning, let's go back. You can see that the agile piece is 20% of the CAPM exam now. That's quite a lot. It's quite a lot, 20% of the exam. So you got to up your game regarding agile for the new CAPM exam. All right, let's move on. Task 1, explain when it is appropriate to use an adaptive approach. Compare the pros and cons of adaptive and predictive. Again, very well covered in the Agile practice guide on page 14. Task 2, determine how to plan project iterations. Again, really well covered in the Agile practice guide, so you may be referring to that a lot more. Task 3, determine how to document project controls for an adaptive project. In other words, identify the artifacts that are used. Task 4, explain the components of an adaptive plan. Distinguish between the components of different adaptive methodologies, Scrum, XP, and so on. Task 5, determine how to prepare and execute task management steps. And on to the final one. This is business analysis frameworks. I found this very interesting that they had accentuated this focus of business analysis frameworks. So task 1, demonstrate an understanding of business analysis roles and responsibilities. Task 2, determine how to conduct stakeholder communication. So the appropriate communication channels, demonstrate why communication is important for business analysts between various teams. Task 3, determine how to gather requirements. So match tools to scenarios, identify the requirements, stakeholders, interviews, surveys, just know what to use to gather requirements. Task 4, demonstrate an understanding of product roadmaps. Very interesting that they're accentuating this. So if you have a very solid agile background, a BA background, this is not a showstopper for you. Explain the application of a product roadmap, determine which components go to which releases. It's a good inclusion there. Task 5, determine how project methodologies influence business analysis processes. And last but not least, task 6, validate requirements through product delivery. Define acceptance criteria, determine if a project or product is ready for delivery based on requirements traceability matrix, product backlog. So you see the language being used, even though they haven't called out domain 4 as being overtly agile, it's still rather agile. So just a cursory look at the new CAPM outline, it shows me a CAPM whose knowledge should transcend what today's CAPM has. So for anyone who's a CAPM today, you got to up your game, because now there's an expectation for you to be quite knowledgeable about agile and business analysis frameworks. And that's good. This is actually a good content outline, in my opinion. It is going to elevate the status of the CAPM exam. It's going to elevate what you're expected to be able to do as a CAPM. For those who are going to take this new exam, it's going to be a lot more work. So I think it's a befitting change to the existing outline. The existing outline is pretty linear. It's pretty much relegated to predictive stuff. But the way forward is for the business person, whether you are a project coordinator or full-blown project manager, it is for you to be aware of agile concepts, practices, business analysis, for you to be able to step in and do a lot of the legwork that the project manager cannot do. So I think this is brilliant. I think it's a good way of stepping up the game. And I'm really looking forward to it. In fact, I already have a book that is dedicated to this new exam that will be coming out very soon. And it's based on the 7th edition, because very soon you won't even find the 6th edition around anymore. So there will be some inclusion about the 6th edition, the relevant pieces that I mentioned, but it is going to map somewhat to the 7th, because that's the only standard that people are going to be able to buy. Eventually, the 6th will be phased out just by virtue of the fact that you won't be able to find hard copies, and people love hard copies. All right. I hope you found this to be helpful. If you've got any questions, don't hesitate to put it in the comments after the fact, right? Just put it in there and I will answer any questions you have. Carla says, do you still have videos on preparing for the CAPM? Absolutely, Carla. I've got a video for the CAPM that I can share with you. I have a couple of them. And actually, we have rather long series about the CAPM exam. If you search around Praizion.com, it's a course. It's a 3-section course for the CAPM exam. So let me share this with you, this video that's out here. First of all, put that in the chat. And let me find another video for you about the CAPM exam that I put out very recently, probably not more than a year ago or so. So let me put that in the chat for you as well. All right, and if you are keen on taking the Praizion CAPM primer, let's see if I can find that for you as well, Carla, because that will definitely accelerate your CAPM exam knowledge. And you know what, let's just do this. Why don't you just send an email to us? Why don't you just send an email to support@praizion.com. So for those folks who are looking to take a CAPM course, you really want to get this thing done, one and done, once and for all, my recommendation is go on down to either Praizion.com or projectmanagementdoctor.com. And when you get there, I'll show you on the screen in a second. All you need to do is scroll down and look for PMP/CAPM exam with Agile. Click on that, and you'll be able to sign up for our on-demand course. It's good for both CAPM and PMP. Would highly recommend it. It goes into every chapter in the 6th edition in a lot of detail, and there's also a mock exam and a series of quizzes. We actually have a quiz for every single knowledge area and every single, what's this, process. So there are 49 different quizzes for every process. So if you're really looking forward to taking the CAPM exam in 2022 before the change, go on down to projectmanagementdoctor.com and sign up for that course. All right. Thank you all very much for joining. I look forward to hearing the good news about your success. And if you have any more questions, don't hesitate to let me know. All right. Send an email to support@praizion.com if you have any questions in addition. All right. Thanks a lot, and I'll see you around. Bye for now.